Welcome back to the Call Up, your go-to podcast on the future stars of Major League Baseball. We're your hosts. I'm Aram Layton. He's Jack McMullen. And we got the Milwaukee Brewers farm system to break down today. We teased it a little bit earlier in the week. Excited to do that. But of course, we haven't recorded since Elly De La Cruz debuted. Obviously, I think if you could somehow pull every single name that we've mentioned since the origin of this podcast, I would argue that Elly De La Cruz is probably the most repeated name on here. He's our number one prospect in baseball. It's cool to see a lot of people coming around to having him at the top of the list too, and a lot of people coming around to being excited about him. So before we get into the Brewers, Jack, I just want to get your thoughts because we haven't really talked about it like one-on-one in terms of just what you saw from Elly De La Cruz in his first two big league games with the Cincinnati Reds.
It is unbelievably effing hilarious.
Yeah.
That's my only takeaway from Elly De La Cruz, because I think we knew that this was a possibility. Mm-hmm. Did we think that it was going to happen 4 or 5 times in his first 2 games? No, I didn't think so. Did you? Like, we knew that he could hit a 460-foot homer. Did we think that he was going to do that and put up the fastest home to third time in baseball and have a couple other batted balls over 110 in his first 2 games? Like, what he has done in such a teensy tiny sample after doing everything he did in triple, and again, a teensy tiny sample. He was on the IL for the first 3 weeks of the year.
Yeah. And started slow as hell because he wasn't playing baseball. So it's crazy. Like, people forget he was bad to start the year.
Dude, like, April was a moot point. May, he was the best hitter in baseball, regardless of level, when he was in triple. He gets the bump in the first couple of days of June, and he has taken over the baseball world in 48 hours. Yeah. People in LA are talking about the Cincinnati Reds. People in New York City with that horrible air quality, hope you're all right, are talking about the Cincinnati freaking Reds. What just happened in 48 hours? That's my takeaway.
100%. And it's beyond Elly De La Cruz in terms of the Cincinnati Reds too. Like, it feels like he is just like, there was this pressure that was just building and building and building with the Cincinnati Reds when you have all of these little exciting things, right? You call up Matt McClain. He looks really good. Spencer Steer hits his stride. That starts to get you excited. Andrew Abbott turns out a quality start. You're like, oh, it's all coming together. A lot of the other guys are performing. And then you just put in the atomic bomb that is Elly De La Cruz, and now the balloon of excitement has just exploded. And look, the Reds probably aren't going to make the playoffs. They probably are going to finish under 500. But this is such a fun team to watch now, and you can see the plan, you can see the potential, you can see everything coming together. But specifically back to Elly, he put on a show in batting practice. People were talking about how he hit like the stacks in right center field there. It's just something that I think baseball, you can't have enough of these type of guys. Obviously, he's cut from like a one-of-one type of cloth. But to have the Cincinnati Reds being the team that gets this guy, I think is so awesome as well. Is spreading some of the elite talent. There's going to be some hit tool questions, I think, at the big league level. And there's going to be bouts where he strikes out a little bit. He struck out twice yesterday. No one noticed that, obviously, because he's hitting the ball so hard. So there's going to be some ebbs and flows. But I think that he is going to be so productive between the speed and the power. And the thing that I keep going back to is how many times we saw this guy this year. You look at some of the video. It's one of my favorite things to consistently tweet out on my personal account is home runs where Elly thought he flew out. And it's happened at least 4 times this year. Think about how much that's going to happen in Great American Ballpark. And it's not about the fact that he thinks he flew out. It's about the fact that balls that Elly De La Cruz does not hit well are going to get out of there a lot. They're going to get out of there a lot. He's going to hit his 465s, but he's going to hit balls off the end or off the fists that get out of that small ballpark, which is why I think in this situation, he has a chance to, if it all clicks, hit 50 home runs. Like, that's the craziest part. He's the number one candidate, I think, besides Acuna to be 40-40, as we talked about in a couple episodes ago. But I also think that this guy has the potential to hit 50 bombs in that stadium. And again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. This might take a few years because, again, a big part of hitting that many home runs is the hit tool as well. Yeah. But with the improvements we've seen from the right side, like people were talking about, how the right-handed swing was so far behind. It's a lot closer now. And that really raises the ceiling for me too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. Like, your friend and mine, Taylor Davis, who is part of the Just Baseball Network, he's huge on O'Neal Cruz, understandably so. That guy shared a clubhouse with O'Neal. I mean, he sees him at the complex every year. He's so impressed. And obviously, you can see Elly De La Cruz and see so much of O'Neal Cruz. Like, those are the two alien life forms, along with Ohtani, that we've got in baseball right now. And Taylor is adamant that O'Neal Cruz, at some point in the next handful of years, is going to have a 50-homer season. I think O'Neal and Elly are kind of same deal, where you can point to them, say, I think a 50-homer season's coming, and I can't laugh you out of the Zoom. I cannot laugh you out of the conversation, because these are freakazoids. I mean, they are built unlike any other player in baseball history, and they do things on the field that are unlike any other player in baseball history.
I'm really kicking myself because, we had him ranked in the top 100 way back, and it was cool to see people chatting us out on Twitter, like just about old write-ups that they dug up or old conversations, which was really fun. But the thing that kills me is he didn't have a Bowman Chrome card until pretty late, because he was a $65,000 international free agent. They usually give it to the expensive guys. So I was just waiting to buy his card. And by the time they made a Bowman Chrome card for him, but by the time he was in packs, he was already a big deal. His cards were too much. But I imagine that his card market must be skyrocketing right now. And the story of the kid who caught the ball, getting the picture with all of his homies, that was super cool. The last thing I'll say on Elly, I've heard nothing but great things about the makeup. You see the cockiness on the field. I don't think that's cockiness. I think it's a guy that's confident and having fun. It doesn't come off in a way of like showboating or rubbing it in. It's, I'm having the time of my life out here and I'm showing it. And it's even different than Tatis. And I always supported the Tatis outward emotions, all that. To me, it's even different than that. It's more of, I'm a kid having fun. And we talk about how good that is for baseball. There's never been more buzz in Cincinnati. Elly De La Cruz, I think, has all the goods to be that next face. Obviously, you got to produce. I think he's going to. He's going to have those highlight reel plays that kind of break your brain. He had the one where he gets from first to third on a shallow single to center to Adam Duvall. Wasn't like some 18-year-old, 19-year-old in the minors that just was like misplaying it. Yeah. And then shortstop looks away for half a second. He darts home. This is a guy that kind of breaks the game of baseball. You're not supposed to be this athletic and this long and this tall and all of these things. So all I ask of our listeners is watch this guy play baseball. Take it in. Have some fun. Cincinnati Reds baseball has never been better, I think. Or it's obviously been better. Has not been better in the last few years. And I think it's very exciting right now with what they're building there. Yeah. Any final thoughts on Elly before we get to the Brewers?
Yeah, a couple things. It hasn't been more exciting in the last couple of years, for sure. Like, I'm counting down the hours until I can turn on the next Cincinnati Reds baseball game. Coming full circle, yes, it was exciting when McLean got brought up. Yes, it was exciting when Abbott got brought up. That might have been 1 on the 10 scale compared to how excited you were when Elly's up. And like, I'm getting texts from people that do not watch Cincinnati Reds baseball saying, look at De La Cruz, man. Like, this is crazy. Nobody's talking about Matt McLean like that. And that's not a knock on McLean. That's just a testament to, he's been great. Like, it's just a testament to how much stuff the Reds have coming. And they just called up the golden ticket man in Elly De La Cruz. Last thing, haven't bought a card on So Rare yet. Haven't bought a collectible on So Rare. I think the cheapest form of Elly De La Cruz might be my first So Rare purchase whenever that is available.
I'm really interested once they add his card on So Rare, what that price will be. Because obviously when you buy the card, it's yours as long as you want to keep it. You can plug it in your lineup forever. But you can also sell it as he gets better and better. So it's almost like dynasty fantasy in that regard, where you can use him next season and the season after that in your fantasy lineup. So I could see his card going for a lot, but I agree. I'm gonna try to pony up and do it. That also is a great segue before we get into the Brewers lineup here, to check out the link in our description. You can join we have our own So Rare league where you can draft your team for free, compete with us in fantasy baseball every single week, and win prizes. You could win Ethereum rewards. If you make a limited lineup, you can win just baseball merch if you win in our competition in our league, and you can continue to win cards they give you cards back if you finish really high and continue to build out your lineup and get better and better. It's free to draft your common team. And if you really like it and have fun, like me, who is very bought into it, you can start buying those limited cards and entering competitions where you can win other limited cards, big time rewards, and exciting things as well. So check out that link for So Rare MLB in our podcast description. A lot of fun, and would love to have you guys join us. It's been fun seeing you all. DM me some of your teams that you've drafted as well. Always happy to answer any questions as it pertains to So Rare and as you build out your team, especially if you want to make a limited team as well.